asked lots of questions, but one of the questions we don't get asked often enough is, should I accept an appraisal waiver? Hi, Glen Kangas from GA Appraisals Inc. and the SoCal Appraisal Vlog, here to talk to you about appraisal waivers. Now, the first thing that you need to remember, or actually know, is what is an appraisal waiver? An appraisal waiver is Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac offering to the lender, not to you, to the lender, the opportunity to submit a package without an appraisal in it for single family and condo properties. It's not for 2 to 4 units. It's not for co-ops. It's not for manufactured homes. It's only for single family and condo properties. And it's for purchases up to 80% loan to value, and for limited cash out refinances up to 90% for owner occupied, and for cash out refinances where there's more than just a little bit being taken out, up to 70% on single family and condos. And the ratios are lower if it's an investment, if it's a non-owner occupied property. And the other thing they're offering appraisal waivers on is rural properties, where FHFA has determined that it's difficult to get an appraisal. Typically, it's difficult to get an appraisal because they don't want to pay a reasonable fee for a rural appraisal, but FHFA, which is just the oversight board for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, has determined that you can get an appraisal waiver in those areas up to 97% loan to value for the owner-occupied properties. So that's what an appraisal waiver is, an offer from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac to the lender to not provide an appraisal in a loan package submission. In the car the other day, because I'm in the car a lot, obviously, and I'm listening to the Ramsey show, Dave Ramsey. Fantastic advice he gives on a pretty regular basis. But he gets a caller who is in a rural area in Idaho with a unique property who's asking if he should accept the appraisal waiver. And what does Dave Ramsey say? He actually says, yes, you can get the appraisal waiver. Just have your agent give you some comps. That's the worst advice that Dave Ramsey, I think, has ever given. That is just not smart. The appraisal reduces your risk, and the appraisal waiver puts you at risk because everybody involved in the transaction, loan officer, buyer's agent, listing agent, all of those people, even if they're wonderful, honest, fantastic, the best in the business, they all have skin in the game. Every single one of them gets paid if you fund your loan and buy the property. The one person who doesn't is the appraiser. And it's that way on purpose. The appraiser is the only independent voice in the whole process who is not motivated by the property closing escrow. Their job is to give you an honest, independent opinion of the value of that property. So, should I get an appraisal waiver according to Dave Ramsey? Yes, go ahead. Just have your agent give you comps. Should I get an appraisal waiver according to an appraiser who knows what he's talking about? No, you should not get an appraisal waiver. So on that one front, do not listen to Dave Ramsey. That is horrible, horrible advice to listen to. Should I get an appraisal waiver in a different situation, right? The Dave Ramsey case I talked about before was a rural property under the rural guidelines. When is it good for me to accept appraisal waiver? One thing you want to remember is that the appraisal waiver, the only people that are protected by an appraisal waiver is the lender, not you. If you overpay for a property and you didn't know that you were overpaying for a property or how much you were overpaying, you still get foreclosed on if you can't afford the payments later. If you have to sell it in a few years and it wasn't worth that to begin with, and now it's especially not worth that, you still have to get a foreclosure or a short sale. The lender suffers no consequences. The lender does not have to buy back the loan because they had a fraudulent appraisal or a bad appraisal or anything like that. The lender is protected by Fannie Mae in that situation when they offer them an appraisal waiver. So just like before, the only person who is not protected is you, the borrower, you, the buyer. The reason you want an appraisal is because the appraiser is the only person in the whole process whose job it is to give you an independent professional opinion of value that is proven and supported by known methodology. That's what their job is. Their job is to give you information to help you make a smart decision. It's to give the bank information to help the bank make a smart decision. So it's very important to remember that the only person protected by an appraisal waiver is the bank, not you, the borrower. Now, should I get an appraisal waiver? Here's a few situations where it might be reasonable for you to get an appraisal waiver. Now, if you have a high loan to value, like a low loan to value, if you're only borrowing 50%, do you still want an appraisal waiver? No. Why would you still want to overpay? That's your cash that's overpaying for the property. I'd still want to get an appraisal. The only area that you would ever think about getting an appraisal waiver is if you live in a very homogeneous area where everything is very, very similar. So a brand new condo project or a newer condo project where all the units are the same, or the models that are like yours are the same, right? You should have a lot of data that shows you what your property is worth. And if you're buying it for that, or your refinance amount is that, that's certainly reasonable. If you're in a very homogeneous single-family neighborhood where the lot sizes are the same, the locations are the same, the quality is the same, the general, improvements are the same, certainly there's going to be some data there to make it easy to do an appraisal waiver. But outside of that, you do not want an appraisal waiver. You want an independent, non-biased person looking at your property, looking at the comps, making adjustments that are supported to the comps to arrive at a reasonable, proven opinion of value. That's why you don't want to accept an appraisal waiver. And one last warning, if you do accept an appraisal waiver, make sure that the lender's not charging you a separate fee that would be more than the appraisal to accept the appraisal waiver. I'm Glen Kangas with GA Appraisals Inc. and the SoCal Appraisal Vlog. If you need any more information about appraisal waivers, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be glad to consult with you.